Thank you so much, and welcome to all our listeners. Today we will talk about how cutting-edge technology revolutionizes management. We will touch on some aspects. Of course, it will not be a large seminar here. We will go through some aspects that relates to information technology first and foremost. And let me start with just a little story. You know that making decisions has changed drastically. Communicating strategy has changed drastically. The way we assess business has changed drastically. If you go back to the 19th century, we had decision makers making decisions based on intuition often, because they did not have readily available information. So they basically did what they always had done, and they got the results afterwards. Today we have a very, very different information, and I would like to share a dream before we go into the material. And the dream is that think if it was possible to actually have all available information in an understandable way at the tip of your fingers. So almost like Siri, when you ask Siri on iPhone, you will get a reply, just much more accurate. And also imagine that you're able to have all decision makers and all managers on the same page. They're seeing the same thing as you. They see their responsibility and it's visible for all. These are some of the few things that are possible today with technology. And obviously, I represent a company that works with these things, and I would like to share some practical examples and show how it can be done in practice. So, if we move on to the things that I will discuss in more detail, we will see how technology will be an advantage in communicating, in integrating, in automating, and in assessing an organization. And this includes, of course, decision making and many, many other aspects. Firstly, I will emphasize communication. It's not just a cliche. We know that communication and understanding what has been communicated is critical in an organization. Also, integration is another aspect. How can you get all the information and all people on the same page, literally speaking? And by having that, how can you make quicker, more informed decision? By integrating all relevant information at one single user-friendly interface. We'll talk about automation, how your organization can simplify and increase the quality of the strategy information process and your operation. And lastly, we'll talk about assessment, how technology can be used to assess the immediate status of the organization, of processes, and even of individual employees. So let's move on, and before I move on, let me just say just a few words about the company I represent, so you know where I'm coming from. Corporator is a global software company. We have offices in Norway, Sweden, the US, India, Argentina. We are in the United Arab Emirates, of course, Dubai, where I'm sitting. And we're also launching offices in Germany and England. We work with leading partners. Typically, our partners will be the Big Four, Accenture, and many of these large consulting companies. They will do the framework and a lot of the content, and we will take that and automate it and make it a part of a digitized process. One thing that sets us apart is that we are EPM specialists. We basically do performance management and strategy execution, nothing else. We have customers in 35 countries. And some of the customers here in the Middle East, you can view here on the slide. It includes traditional departments, Dubai Customs, and private family-owned companies, Saudi University, and many, many others. Some of the global customers includes Norwegian National Assembly, Tax Administration. We have a lot of oil and gas customers like Seadrill, Gasco, Dolphin, corporations like Airbus, IKEA, and many other universities. So we're basically working with many of the benchmarking institutions, and we have pulled from that experience for 15 years now. So let's move on to communication. Communication cannot be underestimated. And how can technology help you communicate how you go about your business, how you implement your strategy, how you run your operations? And that question is so big that we could probably spend many weeks discussing it. But I will go through some more to-the-point examples from our experience. And before I do that, I will tell you a story, which I think some of you can recognize yourself in. I was working as an internal consultant at a large global company in Norway, where I'm from, oil and gas company, actually. So as I was walking in the hallway, one of the senior vice presidents pulled me aside and said, "Come in here, I would like to talk to you, please." And then he said, "I know you've been working for our competitor as a consultant, and I have something to show you." So we had a drawer, and out of that drawer, he pulled a document. It's a thick document. And I realized it was the strategic plan for the organization. Now you must realize that this company, together with the other company, at that time had probably 80–90% of the world market in their domain. So he was very interested in this. So he said, "I know you know about this. I just want you to look at the plan and get back to me." But then he said something significant. "But do not show anything to anybody." And this is interesting. I gave him some feedback. I advised him and told him that you're forgetting something important. You're fine, and I see that how you kind of fill the gaps here, and then you grab another share of the market, and you will be doing fine. And compared to my previous experience, but I said we have a big problem, and that is communication. If this plan is in the drawer, nobody knows what you want to do. Nobody knows what they're going to be measured on. Nobody knows how to collaborate. Nobody knows what the manager or the top management really means. He said you have to break down and cascade this plan and all the relevant initiatives and plan and projects and actions. And that's not even mentioned in your plan. And I'm telling you this story as it is very relevant, and we need that often. Even when leaders are aware of this, and even they have a very expensive strategy framework, often created by some of the big consulting companies, we see this is happening. Well, there could be other, reasons for why they hire expensive strategy consultants, but I'm not going to discuss this. But we see that the plan, the initiatives, the vision even sometimes is not really brought about in the corporation, not even at the managerial level, and they suffer. So what can technology do with this? I will show you some screenshots afterwards, but what technology can do with it is to create a bird's eye view of the status of your organization to the executives and to managers or whoever you want to have access at any given time. It can align the whole organization towards the vision because everyone understands where the organization is going, from the highest to the lowest level of employees. Another thing that communication through technology can help you with is transparency in the organization. It will develop a culture of openness and trust when no one has anything to hide, because the system shows where they're at. The system shows what they're responsible for. And that can be terrifying in the beginning, but after a while, when people get used to it, it actually becomes something that drives performance and transparency. And another important aspect is that it enhances employee involvement. As they realize that the KPIs, the key performance indicators that they're responsible for, is added value from their contribution, they feel more included and they will engage more. So just to give you an example here on how easy it can be, at least from a virtual UI. There's a lot of work underneath this. This is an example of a screen, a dashboard, which can be customized to whatever way people want it to look. And you will have access to everything by the tip of your fingers or click on your computer. You want to go down to reports. You can customize reports. You can get finished customized reports. You can go to your strategy maps, click further down to see how these relates to your initiatives and both to the right and left and up and down. You can get a full overview of your initiatives and projects there. If you look at the bulb there, the lamp, and everything underneath comes from BI warehouses, data warehouses. It comes from other systems. It can come from inputs manually into web forms. It can come from Excel sheets. But the clue is that you can actually, through technology, come to this level where management, executive management, and whoever you want to bring in can have a full-fledged bird's eye of the full organization. You can align all your information, all your systems. Another dashboard here, which can be tailor-made. We have here a more traditional balanced scorecard view with added health and safety, which is, of course, of value in industry, and particularly oil and gas and construction industries, and so on and so forth. And as you can see here, if you look at the customer aspect, they have chosen to pull out two major KPIs, which they think gives most meaning: customer satisfaction, customer value, health and safety. They have LTI, TRI, and HCS score, and for learning and growth, employee engagement, leadership, financial. Typically, you'll have revenue growth, of course, and ROCE. And they have chosen three different internal processes. But what happens when you click on those? You can actually add speedometers, if you like to call them that, or traffic lights on each of them, and show the status. And when you click on them, you can drill down and see what makes up this red status or this green status, and you can see who's responsible for these for the contributions, and see where whatever is not aligned with your vision or where there's very low performance. Another example here is a screenshot of a strategy map. And I assume many of you are familiar with strategy maps and the interaction of how this leads to this, and so on and so forth. And we also see how this is put into themes and to the traditional for a balanced scorecard use. Here we have a screenshot of a single user view where the manager or employee have full overview over all KPIs he or she is responsible for, including all initiatives, tasks, risks, forms, milestones. And here on one page, one landing page, the manager can see what's my responsibilities, how am I doing, and it's close to what you call real time, depending on how you schedule the data, of course, and how your processes are. But you have one landing page, and you can see whatever his responsibilities are and how he's doing. Another aspect that you can actually set the alerts, if you see here at the bottom left on the screen, it says alerts. You can set alerts and schedule them to himself. If, for example, KPIs becomes red or yellow, you can send an email to him. You can send an email automatically to his manager or subordinates. And in that way, you have automated the whole system, and you're in control of your initiatives and your operations if you want to improve operations also. The next aspect I will talk a little bit about is integration. I realize that some of these aspects are overlapping, of course, and as mentioned, I'm not attempting to deliver a 4-day seminar with all the details. It's just to give some tastes and ideas about how technology can revolutionize management. Integration means to put together parts or elements and combine them into a whole. As manager, I don't like it, and you don't like fragmented information, and particularly not processed or fragmented information. We don't like many sources that often can conflict. We like to put them into a whole and get the big picture. And let's see how technology can help you to integrate information and processes. First, before we go into the example, I will just sum up what happens when you integrate information from your business, from the left, right, up, down, from all the systems. You get all scattered information in one place. If you have a proper quality system and procedures for inputting data, and you have assessments and approval, you're actually able to have not just scattered information, but to have true information in one place. The second thing is that you will have up-to-date information from all sources. Having worked in the traditional way of reporting, and oftentimes to executives and top management, I realize the hassle it can be when someone wants to go forward with a big decision, or they are working on big mergers and acquisitions. And what I've seen again and again and again and again, that there's always some new information coming up, there's always some corrections coming up, and the information they have in sources are usually not 100% up to date. So by using technology, you can force this so that actually you can limit the possibility to put in wrong information, and not just that, you can qualify the information, and you can make sure that only the necessary information is available at every single level. And as you see here in what I mentioned in bullet point 3, that you will have limited data manipulation by using technology. You will lock the data in, you will have approvals, and low performers or people who might not fit into the role, they are not able to come around it, because the data will be available for management, and everyone sees who's supposed to see how they're doing, which of course helps you make corrections and adjustments in your organization when necessary. Another thing is instant information access. Back to the dream I shared, we talked about what if you had all information available at the tip of your fingers, and you could almost ask like Siri for information. We haven't come to that part so far, in detail, but we can do that by using your fingertips or touching the screen. What if you had it available on your iPad, on your computer as you log in with a single login, and you can just see, okay, here is red. This is not going good. You click, and you drill down and see what's going on. Or you get emails when something is red. Nobody has to even tell you because the system will tell you. So this has tremendous advantages, and also when it comes to report, which I'll probably touch on later. Let's just give an idea about how integration can be viewed. You can have many different sources here at the bottom. You can have SAP, Oracle, other, an MS Office system, MS Projects. You can even have Excel. You can have CRM systems, Salesforce, and others, and other systems and databases. And for those of you who are familiar with this today, many are more familiar with IT, so probably unnecessary to discuss this in details. But what happens is that the system like ours, for example, it will extract the data, transform it to preset formats, and load it up. And where it loads it up to the software solution system and directly into the interface. And just to show you again, we're using the same screen here like last time, but this again comes from this. So all this information could also be, of course, put into web form. But if you really want to go all the way, you use direct integration. And the information that you see here in this dashboard, you will be able to access at the tip of your fingers. No need for IT if it's preset. No need for I'm not saying there's no need for it, but you don't need to ask your controllers or finance manager or finance directors about every little detail here, because you can choose to go so far down that you even can go down to invoice level for example, financial information. So having this kind of system set up will, of course, minimize the errors. It will save tremendous amount of resources and time, and present an easy and understandable way for decision makers and managers to access information and to discuss. So in management meetings, instead of having spending hours of extracting information from databases and Excel sheets and so on and so forth, and have them presented in management meetings or board meetings, you can go directly into the solution, and either you can preset the path for how you want to do it, how you present it, or you can do an interactive session actually with the board and with managers, whatever they want to see. They can look at whatever indicators they want to look at. They can discuss the red indicators. They can look at the green, how they can improve even more, and so on and so forth, of course. The next aspect I will look at is automation. Automation obviously comes as a consequence of integration. When you put everything together, all the parts, then you can start automating. Information flow from all different sources will come automatic, and this is what I emphasize now. Be visible on your electronic devices for quick overview and decision making. And not just that, also for communication and evaluation, which we will go into in the assessment part. The advantages that technology will give you is to link the strategic components. When, for example, one component mitigation measure is done, set up, the related strategic initiative or task is affected automatically. As I was touching upon, that you, for example, you have a major initiatives, maybe a billion dollar investment, but in order to effectuate that, you have to break it down into project portfolios. And as you do that, you of course have to assign people to be responsible for the products and product portfolios and the KPIs related to that. And you can break it all the way down to task, and of course link it to MS product as mentioned. And you can choose how you want this to affect the completion of the strategic initiative, or let's say the return on investment of the strategic initiatives. But and in such a way you can automate, if I should use that word, the whole strategic, which of course again comes from the vision or the main strategic goals. The availability of data, as mentioned, it will be up to date all the time when you do this, and also the integrity of data as you learn to maintain the system with the proper procedures and controls. Will be, you can actually trust it. And as most of you know that when you make decisions, and when we want to make decisions, one of the major concerns is the integrity of data. And by using technology based on the proper framework and proper procedures, you can actually be able to say that you trust the data and you can make decisions based on that data. I discuss often with management consultants that this is one of the major things that creates a lot of hassle in organizations, and also takes a lot of time when people are making decisions. They feel they cannot trust it, and sometimes they have great reasons for not trusting the data. But the system can force the data into formats and processes and procedures that helps provide a strong integrity of the data. And another thing that automation does, it creates a collaboration between stakeholders, and executors would, of course, improve as the strategic components are linked. The data is available, and the integrity is high of this data. When the system is set up, going back to this slide again, there's a need for quality procedures for information input and quality assurance. When this is done, there will be a steady flow of information from all relevant sources, easily available at single user interface. So this is, believe it or not, this is revolutionizing management. Those who have started using this, not just tested it, but use it and do full-fledged implementations, they have a very different way of running an organization, much more efficient. Let me give you an example from the oil and gas industry. At least up until recently, the biggest offshore drilling company, Seadrill. Their assessment after having used our system is that, let me read it out for you. We were in need of a tool that would report both detailed and overall performance in terms of operational and finance KPIs, while at the same time allowing for analysis and commenting, ensuring a continuing improvement in results. And this person also, you can go more into detail on our website. He uses our system, or they're using our system, to measure and benchmark all their drilling vessels, and they get the information directly into our systems, meaning that of course, the investment that are in such equipment and such work, they can actually keep full track of how each rig is doing. So the rig manager can have full track of it. His manager and of course executive can have full track of how each rig is doing, and of course make the necessary adjustments and decision made on that. The last aspect that we will look at is the assessment part. And how do you know the status quo of your information? Evidently, that is what the KPIs will help with. But the reliance of the information that makes up the KPI score is not necessarily correct. And the information is also found in many different sources. Up-to-date availability often means a lot of manual work to create reports. Knowing how an organization, a division, a manager, or an employee performed at any given time is in practice not possible without technology. And we will just take a look at how technology will help you with assessment. No, you can go into great details of this subject here, so I will try to keep it simple. One of the things that we need to keep in mind when we talk about assessment is that the traditional perspective, it's very difficult to have an assessment, instant assessment of organizational performance of employees or departments. Why? Well, because you typically have to do the reports and you have to do the Excel sheets and the PowerPoints or some other tools that are not easily communicated across the organization and does not have access to available data. With available data, an available setup like I've shown you in the graphical displays, you can see where you are at all time. So you will not just be able to see the division or the department. You can also go down, like we have some customers that have gone down to individual level and measure individual performance. Another thing is to enhance continuous improvement. Instant performance status review enables you to assess the effect of your strategy. And if you're familiar, which I believe many of you are, with the balanced scorecard, we're talking about leading indicators and lagging indicators. Lagging indicators are, of course, those who comes after they lag. They come after you have run your operation. While the leading indicators are those who, if you know that A goes this way, you know B is going to go this way. So they are actually telling the future, if you like to say it, put it like that. And if you have this loaded up into a system, you have all available information, you check the quality of your information, you have your processes in place, you have your system implemented and communicated to the right persons, you can have an instant performance status of your strategy, not just of your operation, but also of your strategic initiatives, how they are doing. And of course, this enables effective assessment of not just initiatives, but of the projects and of, like I mentioned, of individuals or managers or departments. And you can also benchmark these as shown in this example here. So as you can see, this is an example of a production company with several production facilities spread across the world. You would set KPIs that are similar for many of them, and you can benchmark them. This looks simplified, and it is, because typically people, if you go to research, they are not able to take too many aspects and make it into a decision. So it's simplified. You have the speedometer or gauges, and for example here, if I look at K-but call down there to the left, I see they're red. So I have instant access. I can click down, see how they're doing. I can compare it to the rest of the production facilities in such a way I can assess every facility. And just imagine that work that you will have if you had your headquarters in one of those places, and say, okay, we come into the quarter's end, so we need to see how things are doing. Typically, it's a tremendous amount of work to prepare the quarterly reports in big organizations. What if you have an automated system where all information is available and running? That means that, you know, when you want a quarterly report, you basically just have a preset report template. Click a button, and you can get it in different formats, or you can just leave it there in the system and use that as a discussion point or a publishing area. So this will enhance and change management tremendously. And I can just imagine, we all know about all the hassle that comes with quarterly report, but just imagine that quarterly reports are coming up. The only thing you do is to book a meeting room, get the people in the room, put up the system on a big screen, and just click down and see how things are doing. Click a button, as I said, if you want the complete report to send or store. Or you don't even need to do that, because you can set your system and just go into the date you want it to cut off. And these are tremendous advantages of how technology will revolutionize management. Another aspect is regarding assessment, or another example is how you can keep track of your product portfolio. So here you have Gantt charts with progress completion. You have amount used, or the budget and the amount used, and the status, which, for example, measures, if you can read that on the first bar there, 40%. It says the budget is 40,000. And the amount used is 20,000, and is red. Well, probably because they spent half the money and they're 40%, which is very simple. But if you click down there, you could probably go down, depending on how you have connected it, to MS Project and look in detail what has been completed, what has not been completed. Not that everyone is that interested in that, but in that aspect, if you go back to what I talked about with quarterly reports or yearly reports, this is how you can, I mean, this is just a very different way of assessing and preparing for assessment. You can have instant assessment all the time with the proper setup and the proper system. And compared to how many, even today, companies are run, this is a revolution. A lot of companies has BI systems and many other systems. But we know, if you've been around a few years in business, you know that many of them, they don't use it, or they use it wrongly, or they don't trust it, and they often don't have one system that compiles everything in an understandable format. And this, for example, is one aspect of looking at the product portfolio, or initiative portfolio, or sub-product portfolio. You can have this in many different layers and go into the greatest details. But this is how technology can change the complete way of doing management and thinking management and reporting. Going to reports, just an example here. Here you have an example of predefined reports in a solution. So management, or whoever wants this report, they can define how it should look, and basically the only thing you need to do to get the report is to click a button, and it will take everything that's in the system and create a monthly report in whatever way you want it to look, basically. exactly like Word. You can change it like you want to. If you want a KPI report, you can do that. Risk assessment report, you can do the same. You can put them together in one major report. And this is impossible, or not impossible, it will take forever. If we do it the old way, or we do it the hybrid way of having some technology supporting us, but basically still doing a lot of the work manually. So we're coming to an end, and I just want to show you how technology can and will and has revolutionized management and how we run business. Having a proper strategic operational setup and having a system where you integrate all information and connect it to the sources will change and revolutionize management. So I'll encourage you to take advantage of the latest technologies and use that together with proper procedures and frameworks, and you also will revolutionize how you manage your company or your organization. Thank you so much, and thank you for the time, and please feel free to ask me whatever question you have, and I will try to do my best to give you a proper answer. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mrs. Toft, for your presentation. Folks, we are now open for question and answer. So if you have any questions, you could either put it in the question box or you could raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on your console, so if you click on it, you will be able to even speak with Ms. Toft. So let me go straight to the question box. We have a question: what are the typical quick wins achieved by implementing a comprehensive strategy execution / performance management solution?
Yes, that's a good question. I will try to be short. I think I answered some of that, but a typical quick win is reports. Save a lot of time with reports. Another quick win is communication. You can easily display where you are, where you're going, and what are the major initiatives, and who are responsible for them. These are some quick wins, and then also when this is sold into upper management, we will have to make the decision on investing. These are the things, when they see this, they often get very excited.
Okay, there's another one. Can you say something about the effort it could take to connect all systems in an organization and create one single interface?
In order to connect all systems in an organization, of course, you have to have an IT strategy, and the IT strategy should not only come from IT, to put it like this. It should come from the top. And as in the market in general, we also think internally in markets and customer frameworks. What does the customer want to see? So you start with what does top management or decision maker wants to see, and then you work yourself down, and you look at what system do we need to integrate in order to get the full picture of strategy and the operations. And typically, you would of course have to have integration experts if you don't have it internally from the BI data warehouse side. But for example, in our aspect in our system, we will have the understanding of how to do it from our side. And I would say that it should be scheduled as, depending on the organization and maturity and so on and so forth, it should be set up as a project sponsored by top management, or else it will not work. And of course, you would need a tool to create everything into one single interface.
Okay. We have another one. In your view, what are the key function areas of reports that are important from strategy perspective to not only glance over, but to provide quick feedback, ensuring strategy pace is maintained?
I think that KPI overuse, like some of the dashboards I showed, where you have either split in balanced scorecard view or you have in major initiatives view, and you pluck out the big major KPIs. You put gauges on them, and these are typically the ones that you can just, for example, if you look at this on screen, you can see it. You have KPIs there. You can get a complete customized setup of KPIs and who's responsible for them, and you'll have a quick feedback on how the organization is doing. That's a very short answer. Yeah.
Okay, and we have another one question. In this part of the world, and in your observation and views, what is the biggest hindrance in front of establishing good measurable KPIs in any organization?
That's a good question. I think that as the region reaches more and more maturity in this aspect, they're able to nail the KPIs that are important. What we often see that we have organizations that have hundreds of KPIs, and we try to convince them that this is not feasible, it's not going to work. And whoever gave you this list of requirements, they might not have subject matter understanding to the level they should, because these hundreds or even thousands of KPIs are not possible to measure. So I think a sound definition, a narrow definition of what do I want to measure,